Empire.
Welcome to Inside the Cap. I'm your host, Joel Corey. You can find me on Twitter at CoreyJoel. That is CorryJoel. And also read my regular CBSSports.com column, Agents Take, on NFL salary cap and contract matters. There will be multiple contract extensions done now that teams have returned from the break that began right after minicamps ended in mid-June until the start of the regular season. And Fred Warner is one of them. Last week, he became the highest paid off-ball linebacker, $95.225 million for 5 years, $40.5 million fully guaranteed, $40.5 million in guarantees, $20.75 million fully guaranteed at signing. The ink's barely going to be dry on this contract before he gets surpassed by Colts linebacker Darius Leonard. That's to be expected. I always thought whichever one of the two went last would be the highest paid guy. This deal caught my eye because of the structure. San Francisco used a signing option bonus structure. That's not unique. We've seen plenty of teams do that. The part that was unusual to me was the voiding years buyback concept. Since it's a 5-year extension, it runs through 2026. The 25 and 26 years automatically void the third day after San Francisco's final game of the 2024 league year. We haven't seen this voiding buyback concept since the 2011 CBA created the Ricky wage scale. You used to see it with first-round picks at the top of the draft. This concept, this voidable years buyback concept, was used with Alex Smith in his rookie contract. Then the Saints used it with Reggie Bush. The whole concept originates from 1993. Now, that's when it was the first time that the NFL had instituted a system which would put a cap on rookie salary, so to speak. And they had this rookie pool system. That's when it was created. That system was a forerunner to the rookie wage scale. Rookie wage scale has strict slots for each draft pick. This system didn't. Each team got an allotment of cap money to use on rookies, and they could divide it however they wanted to. Then over time, NFL teams got creative and found ways to cheat the rookie pool. But it was this Rick Meyer contract with the Seattle Seahawks was the first time we ever saw this voiding buyback concept, and it had gone away. In this particular instance, the 49ers can buy back the final 2 years as in the contract. And in those 2 years, each year has $17.65 million of base salary, $500,000 in per-game roster bonuses, $100,000 workout bonus. So there's $18.25 million worth of compensation in those 2 years. But they have to pay a $3.6 million buyback bonus or buyback exercise fee to get those last 2 years. If they don't buy them back, then it's a 3-year contract. The new money would be $55.125 million, averaging $18.375 million. I can't imagine. Fred Warner is going to have to be perpetually injured, or he's going to have to, last 2 years have to have been an anomaly. He's got to just the wheels fall off for them not to let the void go and them not buy back those final 2 years. The buyback amount gets prorated. It gets prorated at $1.8 million over the 2025 and 2026 years. So that's an additional cap charge for San Francisco. There's already $5 million of proration in the 22, 23, and 24 years between the signing bonus and option bonus. There's a $12.8 $32 million signing bonus is prorated $2.464 million on the cap. Then you've got an option bonus, which has to be exercised no later than the 5th day of the 2022 league year. So that's $2.464 million bonus proration, 22 through 26. I should say there's common proration, 22 through 25. Now, if they do let the years void, they're going to have the option bonus proration in 26. There's no signing bonus proration in 26. Accelerate to 25 cap. There's one other feature that the Niners have. If they wanted to tomorrow, they could extinguish the void. They have the right to extinguish the void at any time before it actually voids. So they do have a little flexibility in terms of how they want if they want the acceleration to occur in 2026, they can. If not, it can remain intact and they can extinguish the void at any point prior to those years actually voiding. The one thing that did surprise me about Fred Warner's contract was length of contract. I really thought there'd be 4 new years, not 5, given his age. He's then turned 25 to the middle of the year, and with the cap expected to explode in the coming years because of the new media rights deals, and the NFL is going to figure out how to exploit gambling revenue to the fullest, I'd want to come up no later than the end of 2025, just so I can try to get multiple bites of the apple. I would have wanted to follow the Bobby Wagner blueprint, where 4-year rookie contract because of him being a second-round pick, gets the extension in the final year. That's what's happening for Warner. Then does a 4-year extension, gets an extension heading into the final contract year in 2019. Now he's done a 3, so the hopes that he continues to play like he has for this upcoming season. Then he's in his contract year in 2022 and gets one more bite at the apple. So the extra year, a little surprising. Where the deal came in average-wise, not surprising. I thought the $19 to $19.5 million range would be appropriate. We're within that range, and the reason I say that is you look at what has happened the last 2 times. I mean, real time. Someone has become the highest paid off-ball linebacker. I'm going to look at 2 of the last 3. I'm going to look at Quan Alexander, when he briefly became it before C.J. Mosley in free agency. He went from 13.5 to he got $13.5 million a year. The deal which Cleveland had just cut Jamie Collins from with $12.5 million per year, so that's an 8% increase. Then Bobby Wagner, 5.88% increase over C.J. Mosley, $18 million to $17 million. This deal, 5.8% increase, so right there from that range. So that doesn't surprise me at all. The 49ers did something that they started with George Kittle that they hadn't previously really done. 3rd-year guarantee, vest in the 2nd year. There's a $12.016 million base salary guarantee in 2023. In most 49ers deals, that money's guaranteed for injury at signing. And then April 1, and that's the late guarantee date for having things become fully guaranteed. Most teams, it's 1st, 3rd, 5th day of the league year, which would be a couple of weeks earlier, becomes fully guaranteed. Here, in this case, just like with George Kittle, it's April 1, 2022. 3rd year becomes fully guaranteed in the 2nd year. So he got the George Kittle concession. And I'm assuming on a go-forward basis, this is going to be what they have to do with lucrative veteran contracts. Can't escape per-game roster bonuses of San Francisco. That's just what they do in contracts. But overall, very, very solid deal for Fred Warner. We got some news on Friday about a guy who wanted a contract extension where it doesn't seem like he's going to get one unless something changes. It was reported that contract talks broke off between the Green Bay Packers and Davante Adams, and there are no plans of resuming them. Well, that remains to be seen because things can change where contract talks can resume, as we've seen in plenty of cases. But this seems like it has the potential, just on things that were reported, to be another Allen Robinson situation where the talks got acrimonious, couldn't reach a deal, then played out the rookie contract. Played out not the rookie contract, played out the existing contract. Uh, not Rodgers. Adams did say at one point he's going to have to do some extra thinking if Aaron Rodgers wasn't there. But obviously they've been negotiating for a while, and to me that extra thinking to get him to stay would be pay him a premium if he's going to have an unknown quantity thrown to him on a long-term basis, because his numbers would probably drop if Jordan Love isn't remotely close to what Aaron Rodgers has been. Packers have to hit lightning in a bottle twice. The Rodgers has been everything you could ever expect and more out of a quarterback replacing a legend. Brett Favre, see if they can do it again if push comes to shove. Now, the Packers have been unwilling to get to the standard of wide receivers from an average yearly salary standpoint, and that is DeAndre Hopkins at $27.25 million per year. He's the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Second highest paid receiver is Julio Jones at $22 million. That's a 23.9% more than second place, and they haven't been willing to get there, which is a problem. The other issue is when you don't want to pay someone at the top of the market, you can probably placate a player to a degree with structure. But Green Bay has vanilla structures in their veteran contracts, except for one guy, Aaron Rodgers. Every veteran contract Aaron Rodgers has signed has conventional guarantees, whether it's the roster bonuses that they like to carve out, which are supposed to be substitutes for true guarantees, because only true guaranteed money in these veteran contracts for anyone not named Aaron Rodgers is a signing bonus. But for him, they've done that and had base salaries guaranteed. They'd have to make that same exception for Adams to get him to think twice. Like maybe you could come in at $25 million per year, and he's got phenomenal structure where he's got more guarantees than anyone in a contract for a wide receiver that's currently Odell Beckham Jr. at $65 million overall guarantees and $64 million fully guaranteed at signing, and Julio Jones. But that'd be a huge departure. So if you don't want to pay him more than DeAndre Hopkins on the average, and don't want to give him the structure, and you want to stick to your vanilla structure where there's only signing bonus, presumably they've been willing to give him the biggest signing bonus for a wide receiver, which is DeAndre Hopkins at $27.5 million per year. But that won't be enough. So we'll see if this thing gets settled. But if I'm DeAndre Hopkins people, I'm looking at this, go, wait a minute. You had that same concern of David Bakhtiari, and you made him the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. The Laramie Tunsil blew away the market. The Laramie Tunsil got a 22.2% increase over Lane Johnson in terms of offensive linemen. And if we're talking pure left tackles, then it's basically like 33.3% because Anthony Costanzo was a second highest paid pure left tackle at the time that Tunsil signed. So what's the deal? You were able to beat a deal which was an outlier in Tunsil at the time signed. Subsequent to that, you had Ronnie Stanley come in at right under $20 million per year. But I'm like, hey, you don't want to give me guarantees, and you don't want to treat me like you did offensive lineman. That would be what I'm saying to the Green Bay Packers if I am Davante Adams. Now, this is where it also could get similar to Allen Robinson. That Allen Robinson got a franchise tag this year based on the 120% provisions in the CBA. Adams is supposed to make $13.25 million in his final year of his contract. But the way the calculations would work for his franchise tag, it would be $20.12 million to franchise him in 2022. That's problematic for Green Bay for one big reason. They got the worst cap situation on paper, without delving into details, than anybody in the NFL. They have 50 players under contract for next year, and according to NFLPA data, they have 237,750,932 2022 cap commitments, and right now they're just over 4.8 million under the cap. So something has to give there. The salary cap ceiling of 208.2 million. So they would have to restructure contracts just to get there. Then you also would have to, if you don't get a deal done, if you want to franchise him, that's 20.12 million on top of these cap commitments. Well, the way you can find that 20.12 million is that rift with Aaron Rodgers doesn't get healed, and the timeline which everyone had anticipated when Jordan Love was drafted remains the same. And you trade Aaron Rodgers next offseason, you would pick up $22.648 million of cap room by trading him next offseason in a timely manner, which would be before the draft. The idea would be you would want to use 22 draft picks for whatever you got for Aaron Rodgers. But either way, if they somehow get a deal done for Davante Adams, they can better manage the cap hits. But still, they're going to add, if they got a deal done, there's going to be some cap number coming in to add to those commitments. But then they could stick a huge roster bonus like the Bakhtiari's deal this year in there, knowing that they're going to convert it to lower the cap number. But still, if they get him signed to an extension, cooler heads prevail. They still got major cap problems, particularly if Aaron Rodgers is there on a go-forward basis, which he does not want to be. And if not, and they franchise him, they still have major cap problems just because of the way their situation is set up. Most cap commitments for a team currently for the 2022 season.
This episode is brought to you by HP Plus. In a world full of smart devices, shouldn't your printer be smart too? It is with HP Plus. These printers know when they're running low, so you always get the ink you need delivered right when you need it. Plus, you save up to 50% on ink, so you can print whatever you want, as much as you want, anytime you want. Huh, that is pretty smart. Get 6 free months of instant ink when you choose HP Plus. Conditions apply. Visit hp.com/smart for details.
Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, we also got a new nugget of information about what Green Bay's been trying to do to bring him back into the fold. It'd been reported a while ago that they offered to make him the highest paid player in football, but now we know that it was on a 2-year extension. Still, that information in a vacuum doesn't tell me a whole lot. I've been one who's been in the camp that money can fix the problem. And I say that just based on my experiences of having disgruntled players who were looking for a change of scenery, but also if you threw enough money at them, that would, in structured properly, that could solve the problem. Now, I don't know what a 2-year extension, highest paid player means, because if it's, say, it's $100 million for the 2 of new money added to the deal. That'd be a 2-year extension, $50 million per year. Highest paid player is Patrick Mahomes, $45 million per year. That sounds great. Why wouldn't he do it? Structure matters. The only thing that matters in NFL contracts. This is along the lines of that terrible Travis Kelce structured contract he took last year. Then that does nothing for Aaron Rodgers, where let's say, just like Kelce, no new money in 2021. Let's say there's no guaranteed money beyond 2022. And you had like 55% of the new money in 2025, which would be, because under contract through 2023 right now. So if he had 2 new years, he's under contract through 2025. Having 55 million of unsecured money in 2025 would do nothing for Aaron Rodgers. So obviously he would reject this offer if it's structured like that. Now, you could convince me that it is not about money if the offer Green Bay made, and I'm curious to know the structure of the offer, and that would be very telling and revealing. If it's more like what the Cardinals did for DeAndre Hopkins last year on his 2-year extension when he had 3 years left, then I'm convinced this is not money. Because in Hopkins' case, he ended up getting the largest signing bonus for a wide receiver as a part of the whole thing. So let's say you gave Aaron Rodgers a $50 million signing bonus and chopped his $14.7 million base salary in his contract down to, I don't know, something near his league minimum or a significant reduction as a part of the whole process. And you guaranteed at signing 2021, 2022, 2023. So that on top of the signing bonus, if it's structured like DeAndre Hopkins, where he had basically, I think 37% of his new money, just under 37% of his new money through the remainder of the contract, that's going to put you at something like $100 million. Slightly over $100 million fully guaranteed at signing through 2023. And then the way Hopkins has it, he's got almost 73% of his new money through the first new contract year. There's also a void, which he can void out of the last year based on performance, continuing to be DeAndre Hopkins. So he theoretically could have a 1-year extension, and they can't stick a franchise or transition tag on him as well. But putting those last two things aside, let's say you had a similar percentage of new money through the 2024 contract year with Aaron Rodgers, the first new year. That'd leave about $25 million left unsecured in 2025. Big difference between this Kelsey model example, Kelsey type example, where there's $55 million of new money in the last year and $25 million from the DeAndre Hopkins type thing. If it is a DeAndre Hopkins type structure that he turned down, it definitely isn't about the money, because that would give him enough security where Jordan Love would not be a factor, and it's a wasted draft pick and if they kept him on the roster the whole time. And if they gave him a DeAndre Hopkins type deal and he accepted, they'd have to trade Jordan Love from a practical standpoint. So if more details come out about the offer that he's turned down to make him the highest paid player, then we'll know. Right now, I'm thinking this is part damage control by the powers that be, because they want to be able to say to the shareholders, and that shareholders meeting on Monday is going to be interesting, because I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to announce his intentions before Mark Murphy, the CEO and president, has to sit there and answer questions about everything. So he's going to say, hey, look, we tried to make him the highest paid guy, and the fans aren't going to know the nuances of the contract, and that's going to, hopefully, in Green Bay's eyes, if things continue to stay the way they are, where the rift isn't prepared and Rodgers doesn't show up to training camp when it starts on Wednesday, they go, hey, look, we tried, and maybe that'll start the fan sentiment being squarely in Green Bay's corner. And my experience has been, whenever you have a dispute for player in a team, fans will almost overwhelmingly back the billionaire, meaning the owner. of Green Bay has a unique ownership structure, over the millionaire, the player. That's just how it historically has been. There have been pundits who have suggested a way for Green Bay to placate Rodgers where it doesn't involve money, where they adjust the contract. One of them has been to shorten the contract, where they stick a clause in it where it could automatically void prior to the start of the 2022 league year. You'd have the same dead money in 2022 as if trading him, the $22.648 million cap hit, where you're going to pick up $17 million in cap space, which would almost essentially cover the franchise tag, because his cap number's $39.852 million, I believe, in 2022. Now, that being said, that is not something I would be enthusiastic about if I am the Green Bay Packers, for one reason. If I don't get a contract done with Davante Adams, I only franchise one of these two. Well, actually, I would have it automatically void before. I'd have it automatically void before the franchise tag period starts. So then I'd have the flexibility to put a franchise tag on Rodgers just in case. Because I'm not letting either one of those two guys walk out of the door for just compensatory third-round pick the following year from free agency. That's the most you can get for a guy losing free agency. So I wouldn't do that. And I don't want to have to make a choice between either guy on a franchise tag. So if I did do it for Rodgers, where I'd let him shorten the contract, I definitely want to. I'm not giving him a no franchise, no transition tag clause like Tom Brady had when his contract expired in New England, when they gave him the raise heading into 2019 where they couldn't stick a tag on. I'm not doing that for Aaron Rodgers. If I did shorten it in this manner, which I wouldn't want to do because unless the Adams situation was totally resolved and I knew he was under contract, I want to be able to franchise him where I can auction him off to the highest bidder. And I would probably stick the exclusive franchise tag on him because I believe even though he can't shop himself for offers, I'd give him permission to seek a trade if I can do that. If not, because the compensation on a franchise tag at offer sheet is 2 first-round picks. So if the non-exclusive tag, then someone would just sign up to an offer sheet. You get 2 first-round picks in return. I'd try to get more than that. So I would try to control it from that standpoint where I would stick the tag on him, or I'd be able to stick the tag on him. But still, that's going to create another problem as is, because the tag would be 120% of his prior year's salary, and he already has a cap number of heading into the year was $37.202 million, and he's not going to earn the roster bonus of $5 million. Let's say you take out the incentives that are counting under the cap, and then you just multiply that by 120%. You're talking like a $40 million number. So in addition to having the $22.68 million cap hit from the voiding, then you got $40 million on top of that, and your cap problems are ridiculous. So that's really unworkable when you get down to it and start looking at it. So that's out. Then if I'm going to do something, I'm going to try to placate him by shifting money around in 2022. He's got a $25 million base salary. So let's say I shifted $23 million of the 25 into a May 1st roster bonus. That would be my intention to trade him, because that would give me the draft is April 28th or April 30th, or say May 2nd roster bonus, because that's a Monday. That if he's still on the roster May 2nd, I got to pay him to $23 million. So that would be my incentive to move him before that date. I don't have to worry about anything voiding. I have the same cap charges issues that I'd have otherwise. It's just that I can't decide, you know what, I want to hold on to him. He won MVP. I guess you still could, but in that case, he would want something that the 2023 contract year would void. So that would put pressure on him, put pressure on Green Bay to actually trade him. But I'd verbally tell him I'm going to trade him, and this mechanism is in the contract to ensure that we move you if you just play this year. But we'll see how this works out for Aaron Rodgers. What he does on Wednesday is a mystery to everybody publicly. I'm sure David Dunn, Athletes First, his agent, and Aaron Rodgers know what they're going to do. We'll see if he shows up for training camp. One other issue that's been fascinating to me, and that's been what's going on with the rookie contracts. Now, we've had more third-round picks who have been unsigned than first-round picks. And the way the draft works is that if you're taking 4th through 7th rounds, your deal is very simple. You're getting a signing bonus, and you're getting 4 years of minimum base salaries. Obviously, there's some other technical aspects of the contract that I'm not going to discuss in any detail, like bases tied to credited seasons and splits for the first or second contract year. But from a compensation standpoint, it's pretty cut and dried. First 2 rounds, you're getting 100% of your draft slot. Third round is where there's an actual negotiation over money. In 2020, with the third round, that's where things were a little bit different. That in 2020, in the first round, the first 8 picks got 100% of their slot. And then the first 20 picks got 100% of their slot through the first 3 contract years. You're negotiating over, 1, can you get the full slot? 2, if you can't get the full slot, how much of the third year will you get the max compensation? And then if you can't get the max compensation through 3 years, then in the fourth year, if you get the max compensation 3 years, how much of the fourth year close to the max compensation you can get. If you can't get the max compensation in 3 years, then it's how close to getting 100% of your slot of the money allocated under the rookie pool in the third year, and then how close you can get in the fourth year. Now, 2021, things changed in a big way. On May 13th, the Houston Texans signed Nico Collins to a deal where they gave him 100% of the slot. That's a huge change because normally it only trickles down to maybe 1 or 2 more slots per year. So when he got that deal, 100% of the slot at 26, and last year it was at 8, that slowed everything down because every pick past 8 was that hadn't been done at that time was like, wait a minute, 26 got the full slot. I want the full slot. So that's what slowed things down. Obviously, once training camp starts, that's the deadline where you're going to get these guys in because third-round picks don't hold out. Last training camps open on July 27th. So we've seen at 30, we know at 30, Spencer Brown of the Ravens did not get 100% of the slot. He got max compensation of $99.45 million. But every pick that's signed so far, including the compensatory picks through pick 42, has gotten 100% of the slot through the third year. So big win for the players in terms of change the dynamics in the third round. But that pick at 26, Nico Collins, the 26th pick in the third round, really slowed down the signing of the third round picks. There are now 3 first-round picks still unsigned. Rashawn Slater of the Chargers at number, I believe, 13. And the second and third picks, Zach Wilson and Trey Lance. Now, in the first round, particularly with Lance and Wilson, we know what the deals are going to be. We know that Zach Wilson is going to sign a deal that's basically $35.15 million over the 4 years. Signing bonus is going to be $22,924,132. That's a given. Trey Lance, $22,163,824 signing bonus. His deal is going to be $34.105 million. The money is set. Trevor Lawrence is already done. One thing we've known that isn't going to be an issue, or shouldn't be an issue, is payment of signing bonus. And that's one of the few negotiable things in these contracts. And the reason I say it shouldn't be an issue, because these teams have previously done that for high first-round picks. The 49ers paid Nick Bosa his signing bonus like in a lump sum, like within 15 days of execution 2 years ago. And then 3 years ago, the Jets paid quarterback Sam Darnold his signing bonus in a lump sum within 3 days of execution. Within 15 days of execution as well. In Trevor Lawrence's case, he already has that. That was going to be an issue for him because the the Jaguars have never done that with their first-round picks, paid it all in a lump sum, but they did. The other issue is whether the guarantees are going to have offsets. And with Lawrence, his guarantees were never going to have offsets because they just don't do that. The Jets and 49ers always insist on offsets. And by that, I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say Zach Wilson had a $1 million base salary in the fourth year of his rookie deal, 2024, and he gets cut. And then he goes and signs with the Giants for $1 million. Then he's only making $1 million if he has an offset because the Giants have to pay the Jets their $1 million to offset their guarantee. No offset, he gets the double dip. He gets $1 million for the Jets, then the $1 million from the Giants, so he makes $2 million. It only comes up if the player can't play. Now, there's something that happened this year, and actually I should say, before I get to what happened this year, prior to 2013, you had multiple guys in the top 10 getting no offsets. Teams held the line. The compromise with training camp roster bonuses, where you carved out everything but the base salary and stuck them in training camp roster bonuses. That was a carve-out. In addition to no offsets, Lawrence has training camp roster bonuses, which has never happened for a guy who doesn't have the offsets with guarantees. But that was the compromise. So something happened this year, which is throwing a monkey wrench into it. Justin Fields, at number 11, got the training camp roster bonuses, but they don't have any offsets at number 11. His base salary in 2021, no offsets as well. So the bulk of his money, no offsets. Just the base salaries 22 through 24 have offsets. They did that with Mitchell Trubisky, but that's a problem. You got a quarterback at 11, no offsets for most of his money. Lawrence has no offsets at 1. Jets typically don't have contracts where the offset language isn't included. So Wilson, Lance want that, want the same treatment as Justin Fields. And then to make matters worse, the Jaguars did something they've never done before for late first round pick with Travis Etienne at the back of the first round at 25. He doesn't have offsets on his guarantees. So that's the sticking point. The thing is, the Jets want Wilson to be – he's missing rookie training camp because the rookies reported on the 20th. That's not a big deal. Him missing once things start on the 27th, that's a big deal because they want him to start day one. So if anybody's going to cave, it'll be the Jets before the 49ers. Lance, if they want him to truly compete with Jimmy Garoppolo to be the starter, they want him there sooner rather than later, but they've said all along Garoppolo's the quarterback unless something happens, and Lance will take over after that. But that's the big issue for why these first-round picks aren't signed. Now, I said that by the time this airs, they'll be signed. But that's going to wrap up this week's Inside the Cap. Don't forget, you can find me on Twitter at Corey Joel, CorryJoel, and also read my regular CBSSports.com column, Agent's Take. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.